Spirit Tarot, and I'm here with the message for Taurus, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and any other significant placements. This is just going to be a general message, so whatever I see is what I'm going to read. But I've already pulled your cards, and I'm ready to get to your spread. But if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and become an official sunflower. We start this reading today with the Chariot. This is energy of being very self-motivated, very ambitious, very driven to move forward from something. I see you being in a situation or a relationship that's not particularly emotionally fulfilling, and you're starting to come to the conclusion that you deserve better. You need more. You deserve more. You are worth more. I feel like you have put yourself in situations, specifically when it comes to your romantic relationships, where you've always been willing to struggle or willing to suffer or willing to take on most of the responsibility, and now it's not appealing to you anymore. Now it doesn't feel as good as it used to. You used to feel some sense of accomplishment from like coming in and feeling as if you were somebody's savior, somebody's hero, and now you're realizing that that's not your job. In fact, it was holding you back. It was keeping you stuck. It was keeping you in a place with this Eight of Swords overall energy where you couldn't see. You didn't know what you were doing. You felt like you were trapped in your situation. You felt like you were being suffocated. You felt like you were in a position to where you could not move freely because you were so tied to or so responsible for a whole other person who is also an adult and can do for themselves and provide for themselves. Now, does that make it true just because somebody is of age that they can take care of themselves and do for themselves? Absolutely not. And you already know the answer to that question because you've dealt with enough people who rely on you too much, who depend on you too much, who need too much from you. And there was a part of you in the past that loved being needed, because you felt as if it was better to be needed than to be wanted, because then they couldn't just walk away from you. Then they couldn't just abandon you. Then they couldn't just leave your life simply because the emotion wasn't there anymore. No, they needed you and they had to stay. And I don't mean that in like a way where I'm judging you for feeling that way. It's natural, it's normal to want to feel needed, to want to feel necessary. And maybe that's even a better word than wanting to feel needed. You wanted to feel necessary, so you made yourself necessary in people's lives. And this doesn't even just have to be romantic. But now you're getting to a point where you feel like maybe you've been putting your own dreams, your own desires, your own goals, your own career on hold, on the back burner, or just completely and totally disregarding it as a result of putting so much of your time, effort, energy, and resources into building other people up. It's like, well, now what do I have to show for it? I don't feel like you're in a relationship right now. And if you're in a relationship right now, I don't feel like you're emotionally connected to that relationship at all. So if you're not with anybody that you've given everything to, then what is the point? What do you have to show for making yourself necessary in the lives of people who don't value that, in the lives of people who don't value what you bring to the table, who don't appreciate you, who don't understand you, who don't even really want to get to know you, who really don't even want to support you in the way that you're showing up and supporting them? These are not reciprocal relationships. These are not relationships in which you will also get your needs met. And I think that you're coming into the understanding that you need balance in all things, in all ways, in all shapes and forms and fashions. You need balance. The key to life is absolutely balance, moderation, both sides of a partnership contributing. And it doesn't have to always be equal, but it always has to equal 100. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't always have to be 50-50, but it can't just be 99-1. You've been putting in the 99, they've been putting in the 1. They just get to show up and look pretty or look handsome or whatever the case may be. They just get to show up and enjoy all the perks of being in your presence. And you're tired. You're tired. You've done enough, you've had enough, and you've realized, especially if you're single right now, you've realized how much more time and energy you have to put into the things that are important to you and into creating that balance in your own life. Remembering all the ways in which you may have neglected yourself, remembering the ways in which you put yourself on the back burner, remembering the ways in which you put yourself in situations where people could not give you that emotional support. And maybe that's what you've always wanted. Maybe you've always been the person who's more financially stable. Maybe you come from money, so money is not really an issue for you. Maybe you don't have a problem getting money, keeping money, using money. Maybe you are somebody who's always been very financially secure or is very financially secure right now. So all you really wanted from the other person was that emotional connection, was that love, was that support. And they can't even do that. You're not even asking for the world. You're not asking for them to take care of you. You're not asking for them to provide for you. All you want is to feel safe and emotionally supported. And it's like they can't even do that. I will say, if you're in the feminine energy, masculines have a difficult time, especially if they've been conditioned by societal systems to believe that they're the protectors and the providers and they're the ones who's supposed to be in charge. They have a very difficult time being emotionally open or being emotionally available when they're not in the position to be the leader, to be the protector, to be the provider. So you're attracting people who maybe need you for your resources, but also feel invalidated or inadequate next to you, who also feel emasculated next to you because you are so financially secure or you don't need much, okay? And I don't mean that you're low maintenance. What I mean is that you don't need them to do anything. You seem like a very independent person, and you do meet your own needs in the sense that you take care of yourself, you present yourself well. But I think wanting to outsource that, it's almost like wanting to contract these people or contract these lovers to meet your emotional needs or to be your emotional fulfillment, right? You're putting up the money, they're putting up the emotion. And that's not necessarily a healthy dynamic, really, especially if you are in the feminine, but really for anybody, okay? Let's clarify and see what's really going on here. I almost said 7 of the chariot. The chariot is number 7. That's why it shows up like that. Just one second. We have the 10 of cups here, which indicates wanting it all, right? Not wanting to settle for just part of the vision, not wanting to settle for just a piece of a relationship or the pieces that people can provide while you make up for everything else or while you fill in all of the other gaps. You want it all. You want the dream. You want to be a family. You want to have a partner. You potentially want to have children. We also have the Judgment and the Knight of Swords. So you're making a choice. You're making a choice to move away from anything that doesn't feel like that wholeness, that totality in that partnership. You're moving away from anything that makes you feel as if you have to do it all. Now, I will say this. You do like to be in control. You do like to be the decision maker. You do like to be the person who has the final say. But I think that in part is because you've met a lot of people who you don't trust their judgment. You don't trust them to lead your life. So I think in order for you to really get what you desire out of romantic partnership is to find somebody who already has the values that you have, find somebody who already shares your sense of integrity, your morality, all that kind of stuff, whether it's religion or just the way that you believe or make choices, your lifestyle. You can't be aligning yourself with people who drink and smoke and do all that kind of stuff all day if you don't drink and smoke and do all that kind of stuff every day. You can't be aligning yourself with people who are not ambitious if you are strongly ambitious or if you have a lot of dreams and goals for your life. You have to find a masculine who can compare to you, okay? Who can be in the same room as you and doesn't seem out of place. You may have been scared of that in the past simply because you are so used to being in charge, and then maybe that's why you pick weaker masculines, is because you do like being in control. But you don't necessarily want that for your long-term partnership. You don't want to be the one who's making all the decisions. You don't want to be the one who's always having to choose. Clarifying the Queen of Pentacles, we have the Sun. Clarifying the 5 of Pentacles, we have the 10 of Swords. What that means to me, and the Ace of Swords, right? And the Devil, you are realizing, okay, you put yourself in toxic patterns with people who cannot give to you simply because you wanted to be the one, like I said, in charge, in control. It was very much ego-driven with the Sun here. But also with the Sun here with this Queen of Pentacles, I see you being very abundant, very fertile, very prosperous, warm, creative, having a lot of energy that attracts a lot of different people. When you look like you're shining, you're going to attract a lot of people who like shiny things, okay? Not everybody who is attracted to you can give you the life that you desire, because maybe they're attracted to you simply because you look like you can give them the life they desire, right? And I think that maybe you're too open to people who are willing to exploit you in that way, simply because, like I said, you think that you can get your needs met in another way, and that's just not how it's going down. We have the Devil over here, which means that there's some sort of toxic component within you as well, and I think we've already discussed that, but that's just something to be aware of, okay? I don't want you to get into a situation with somebody who actually does look like they belong in the same room as you and then think it's a competition, right? Who's more in charge? Who has more money? Who has more status? Who has more whatever? I want you to find a partner who can measure up to you without feeling like you have to compare, okay? The 5 of Cups, we have the Empress. Oh, that's a lot. We have the Eight of Wands, the Nine of Swords, and the Fool. Okay, so there's this idea where you really want to give, nurture, love, create life, but everybody you have interacted with, or all of the relationships that you had up to this point, have been so disappointing that you want something drastically changed. You want to make a drastic change. You want to do a complete 180 on the way that you approach your love life. And I don't think that that's a bad idea, but I also don't want you to get into this mode where you feel like your type is the problem. I don't think that you're necessarily attracted to people who need you. I think that what you're attracted to is a certain energy or a certain quality in somebody, okay? I also feel like there's insecurity here about your ability to be nurturing, loving, caring, giving, or to really fall into your divine feminine energy, to surrender, to yield, okay? That comes with practice, and that also comes with trust. If you don't trust the person that you're with to lead your life or to be a leader in your life, then you're never going to submit. You're never going to surrender. You're never going to yield. And it's always going to be a power struggle, especially if this other person wants to have some sort of say in the relationship as well. It's not necessarily up to you to decide which masculines have those characteristics or qualities, because it's either in them or not, right? It's up to you to find out who you would be willing to take the risk for, who you are willing to take the leap with. Eight of Cups. We got the Six of Pentacles and the Knight of Wands. You want to feel passionate about the person that you're with again. You want to feel passionate about the partnerships that you undertake. You want to feel like you're giving just as much as you're receiving. So it's not that you don't want to give anymore, but you also want to get something back. You're tired of just putting out, giving, depleting yourself and becoming empty, and not having anything returned to you in these unrequited situations, or these situations that are not reciprocal. I just see you feeling very passionate about people who aren't stingy with you. You are looking for somebody who's very generous, very full of life, energetic, maybe even somebody younger than you, to be honest. It could be somebody younger than you that you're coming in with, or you might be avoiding people who maybe have that playboy, playgirl type of energy. Ten of Wands. We have the Moon here. And the Three of Swords. Yeah, you suffer in silence a lot. I don't think that you've attracted people or been in relationships with partners who can really shoulder the emotional burden that comes with being in a romantic relationship, because it is a burden. Okay, let's speak freely here. It is a burden to be in a romantic relationship with somebody, because you're taking something else on if you're actually doing it right. Now, does it have to feel overwhelming? Does it have to feel burdensome? No, because burden, I guess, can be another word for responsibility. It's almost as if you've been with people who don't like to take responsibility for not having the emotional capacity to support you. And so you've suffered in silence a lot. You've hurt in the dark a lot by taking so many things on, or taking so much responsibility in your relationships. And it's almost like you parentify yourself, or they parentify you. Like, you know how in some situations parents feel like they can't be totally honest or totally vulnerable or totally open with their kids because they're my children and I can't show them that I'm struggling. I can't show them that I'm hurting. That's the energy that I'm getting off of this. And you should 100% be able to rely on your partner for emotional support. You should 100% be able to show them when you're hurting, okay? Maybe that's also a reason why you pick the partners that you've chosen, because they're so emotionally unavailable that you can continue to just not be emotionally available as well. In that capacity of sharing your emotions, sharing your feelings, and wanting that emotional support in return. Four of Cups. It's just not doing it for you anymore. We have the Nine of Wands and the King of Pentacles. King and Queen of Pentacles. What am I saying? You are not interested in anybody who cannot back it up. They have to walk it like they talk it. They have to be exactly who they say they are. They have to present themselves exactly in the way that they say they will, or your guard will be totally high until they prove themselves to you that they are capable and able of standing next to you as your king. You're not going to let your guard down. You're not going to let up. You're not going to let in. You're not going to allow them to play with your time, waste your time, or mess with your emotions anymore. You have to see proof. This person has to be established already. That's what you want. You don't want to build a bear. You don't want to be with somebody who needs to be seen as like a fixer-upper or a project or somebody that you can save, because that's ridiculous anyway. You want somebody who's already established, who already knows who they are, very confident, and knows what they want for the future and is already building on that and has already achieved a certain level of success that's comparable to your success. Four of Pentacles, but not encouraging you to compare yourself to them, just saying like you need somebody who's on your level. We have the Queen of Cups and the Page of Pentacles. I feel like you have an emotional, I don't know, this is like a soft spot for people who are maybe less mature than you are, less financially stable than you are, people who don't have it all together like you do. I just feel like it's more of a sympathy, more of a compassion, more of an understanding, like, oh, well, they deserve love too, than it actually is an attraction. Even look at this. It looks very mother-son. It looks very mother-son here. So I don't want you to continue dealing in relationships where you feel like this person is in a position to learn from you and need from you and take from you. And you have to give them everything you have because you have a soft spot for men who are underdeveloped or masculines who are underdeveloped, because you already understand the ways in which they have been unprepared for life, or the ways in which that they have not been given the tools that they need to succeed. That's not your responsibility. Let's make that very clear. Okay, we're ending the reading here with the Four of Pentacles. I think really this represents you holding back until you find what you feel like you deserve. The Seven of Swords and the Two of Swords. Yeah, you're going to choose to do what's best for you until you get your wish fulfillment and the partner that you seek. You want somebody who's established, who's confident, who knows who they are, who knows what they want, because that's how you feel about yourself. Yeah, you have a soft spot for people who maybe are a little bit less mature and a little bit less developed and a little bit less successful. But let's not confuse a soft spot for attraction. Let's not confuse a soft spot for love. Let's not confuse a soft spot for actually having respect and admiration for somebody, because that's how you want to feel about your person. You want to feel like they add value to your life as opposed to just taking and taking and taking all the time. And until you find somebody that you connect with on that level, you are keeping yourself to yourself. You are totally shut down, closed off, emotionally unavailable to anybody who doesn't meet that standard. And hey, I think that's how you should be. All right, Taurus, this is what I have for you guys. I hope that this was helpful or enlightening in some way. Like and share, and I will be with you next time.